Hello lovely kids, this is explanation part number 2 of Black Aeroplane, and we read the chapter, half of the portion of the story in the previous video, where we learned that the pilot started his journey from Paris to England, and he suddenly entered into the storm, the dark storm, and the storm was he was too eager to spend the time with his family, and that's why he took that risk. And when he entered into those dark clouds, nothing was visible for him. He started losing control of the aeroplane also, and the compass and the other instruments had also stopped working because of the bad weather. He became helpless. Now what he did next, this we have to do. I looked at the compass. It is written here, I looked at the compass. I couldn't believe my eyes. The compass was turning round and round, but and it was dead. Okay, so nothing was there. It means every instrument had been stopped, and now he is becoming helpless, right? So let's see in the next slide. It would not work. The other instrument was suddenly dead too. I tried the radio. So till this slide we read the chapter in the previous video. Next, let's see what is the Paris control. Paris control. Can you hear me? There was no answer. The radio was dead too. I had no radio, no compass, and I could not see where I was. I was lost in the storm. So what he did? Now when he noticed that each and every instrument of his aeroplane became dead, at that time he tried calling the Paris control room, or who had helped him earlier, because they gave him direction to turn 12 degrees towards east. So but he couldn't connect because due to the bad weather, but there was no answer. The radio was dead too. Now he noticed that the radio was also dead, means along with the another instruments which were there in the plane, they also got dead, and this time the radio also was dead. I had no radio, no compass, and I could not see where I was. So he is saying, due to that bad weather, in the midst of the black storms which were like huge mountains, right, he could not see anything. Everything failed, right? I could not see where I was. I was lost in the storm. So he became hopeless. Next is, then in the black cloud quite near me, I saw another aeroplane. It had no lights on its wings, but I could see it flying next to me through the storm. Here what the author is saying, that in the middle of this storm, right, it was not the normal storm, it was a very bad storm actually, and when everything he failed, he lost all his hopes. So suddenly he saw another aeroplane there in the sky in that black storm, and he felt relieved actually when he saw the another plane, and he saw the face of another pilot also. It had no lights on its wings, and he is saying that on this aeroplane there was no lights, but I could see it flying next to me through the storm. But he is saying that he can see the plane actually, right? And let's see what happened. He turned his aeroplane slowly on the north of my Dakota. So what he is saying here, that he is turning, he is the pilot. He turned his aeroplane to the north in front of my Dakota. So what is this Dakota? Dakota is the aeroplane which the author is flying, and this is, he turned his aeroplane, this is the black aeroplane which helped the author of the, or means the narrator of the lesson for the safe landing. Okay, so he turned his aeroplane slowly the north in front of my Dakota, so that it would be easier for me to follow him. So what he did, he got a ray of hope when he saw the another aeroplane, and he was relaxed, and he saw that the another pilot, right, he wanted to help him. He the pilot of the Dakota aeroplane, he could see that the person is willing to help him to escape from the storm. So it was very happy to go behind the strange aeroplane like an obedient child. So what he did, and it was his actually good luck that someone is there to guide him, right? So he felt that it will be good for him if he want to save himself. So like an obedient child, he has to follow him, because he thought to himself that the other pilot is very kind, as he knew that that he was lost, or they both were lost, it may happen, and they were trying to help each other. Let's see in the next slide. After half an hour, the strange black aeroplane was still there in front of me in the clouds. Now there was only enough fuel in the Dakota last tank fly for 5 or 10 minutes. Now he is saying that he turned his aeroplane, right, and then he noticed that the another pilot, he was flying his kite, actually flying his aeroplane, and the pilot is actually tensed here, that because he has very less fuel, he could fly only for 5 to 10 minutes, right? So after half an hour, he followed him, because the pilot of the black aeroplane, he told him, he gestured him to follow him, right? And then he just like an obedient child, he went behind him, he turned his Dakota and he went behind him. And after that, what happened, that he said that he was also getting panic also, because his fuel was very less, right? Whatever the fuel was there, because when he reached 150 kilometer away from Paris, so he used his last tank of the fuel. So he was also panicked, because there was very less amount of fuel, okay, left in his plane, right? So it was only that he started coming out of the storm when he noticed that only his plane can fly for 5 minutes only. Next is, I was staring to the fuel to feel frightened again. So here he is saying that again he is getting panic, because he was afraid now that the fuel is getting that the tank is getting empty. So but then he started to go down and followed through the storm. So when he saw that, he realized that the plane followed the plane. I was staring to the to feel frightened again, but when he started to go down and had followed through the storm, so he was following him, right, the black aeroplane. So he was following him, and that time what happened, let's see. Suddenly I came out of the clouds and saw 2 long straight lines of the light in front of me. So when he started getting upset due to that fuel, so he suddenly noticed that that he started coming out of the storm, and he could see now the runway. Here on your screen you can see the runway. So same he saw there also, okay. So this runway with the lights he started, and then he started coming out of the storm, and he could notice that he could see the runway that time, right, and he could land his plane safely. So I came out of the clouds and saw 2 long straight lines of the lights in front of me. It was a runway, an airport. It was safe. So runway is what? See, it is suppose it is runway here, and on the either side of the runway there are what? Lights, right? So he could notice like this. He could notice that it was the runway, right? So when he turned. It was a runway, an airport. I was safe. I turned to look for my friend in the black aeroplane. Now, who is his friend? His friend is the pilot who saved him actually. Okay, he is talking about that pilot who saved him. So he realized when he thought that he is about to land his plane, he turned his head to thank his friend who was flying the black aeroplane, but the sky was empty and he was surprised that where had this aeroplane soon disappeared. Okay, and as he came out of the storm, he saw he saw the straightway, he saw the runway there, and after that when he wanted to thank that pilot of the black aeroplane, he was disappeared. Okay, there was nothing there. The black aeroplane was gone. I could not see it anywhere. Now he said that I landed there, right? And the author did not know actually that where he had landed. Clear? The black aeroplane was gone. I could not see him anywhere. So I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near control tower. Now he straight headed to the, actually he did not know and he was not sorry to leave that plane unattended, because he did not know that where he landed, what was the name of that particular place where he landed his plane. So I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near the control tower. So he just left his plane unattended and he went to the control room. I went and asked a woman in the control center where I was and who the other pilot was. I wanted to say thank you. Okay, so he headed straight to control room and he asked the lady who was the woman who was there at the control center that where the another pilot went. Okay, or where is the another pilot. So he asked that question, where I was and who was the other pilot. I wanted to say thank you. So when he straight headed to the control room, he asked about the other pilot, and because he wanted to say him thank you. She looked at me very strangely. So who is she here? She is the lady who is at control center. So she said that she was surprised actually. To his utmost surprise, the lady informed him that there was no other plane in the sky except his because of the bad weather. So to his utmost surprise, the lady who was there, she informed him that there was no plane in the sky and except his own plane, right, because of the bad weather. Now another aeroplane up there in the storm, no other aeroplane were flying tonight. Yours was the only one I could see on the radar. So what he is saying, or what she is saying, so she said that there was no other plane in the sky except his, because today it was a bad weather and only your aeroplane was flying in the sky that night. She noticed this on her radar. Okay, now what is this radar? Actually this is the system for detecting the presence and the direction and the speed of the aircrafts. Okay, that and they keep on sending the the instructions on the radios and all that, right, to the particular pilots. So that is what radar. So another aeroplane, she was very surprised, right, and she said there was no other plane there. So who helped me to arrive there safely without a compass or a radio? and without any more fuel in the tanks? Who was the pilot on the strange black aeroplane flying in the storm without lights? So here the narrator, he was very surprised. He is astonished actually, and he had a lot of questions which were unanswered in his mind, that if there was no other plane, no other plane or no other pilot who saved me, so how I could be out of that huge storm? Who was the pilot of the strange black aeroplane? So many questions were there which remain unanswered in his mind, right? So this is the chapter Black Aeroplane, where we learnt that we should not lose hope, right? Because sometimes in our life it becomes very difficult to decide that what to do, what not to do. So here in the story Black Aeroplane, it is also too difficult to decide whether it is a mystery or not, because we cannot answer even that who helped him. The narrator explains that a black aeroplane helps him, but when he goes to thank him, he found there was no other aeroplane except him, except his in the atmosphere or in the sky. Or he could not believe it. Who was that pilot in the black aeroplane who helped him to land his Dakota aeroplane safely? But here we learnt that the narrator, he did not lose his hope, and the pilot of the mysterious plane might be figment of his own fertile imagination. So this was the story of Black Aeroplane. Thank you very much, and keep on studying, reading the new stories, and enhance your vocabulary too, and work on your reading skill too. Thank you very much for today. Stay safe, stay healthy.